o'clock, Mitch Thompson, former Baylor assistant coach and also now the head coach at MCC, taking his team back to the World Series after their win against Cisco in 2 straight games. Will join us today at 5 o'clock. We're now joined by former Baylor and also Major League Outfielder David Murphy, a part of the Rangers television network and broadcast team on SicEm365 Radio. David, thank you very much for being a part of the show. We'll get into the Rangers quite a bit and Garcia, the walk-off and all that. But what are your thoughts right now of the new age player? And it seems like maybe guys are enjoying themselves more than ever when they have a moment to celebrate.
I think it's easy for an old school player like me to come down on these guys. I think there's a give and take. While I love the energy that it infuses into the game. I think the moments are kind of what I dissect. If you hit a home run in the 8th or 9th inning with tie game or a close game, and you want to get your teammates pumped up and you want to bat flip, I'm fine with that. What I struggle with is when it's a 8-1 game, it's a solo home run. There's nothing, 2 outs in an inning, nothing going on, and you bat flip or walk in that situation. It's just, I think that may be a little bit uncalled for. So I think more than anything, and kind of it goes back to bringing your teammates into it. If it's a moment where you're getting your teammates pumped up, that can be one thing. But if it's just completely for self and look at me and that type of thing, I think that takes the team element out of what's the most important thing in the game, and that is the team.
David, with the way that baseball is going right now, lots of strikeouts. I mean, we've already had 6 no-hitters thrown this year. The Rangers have been no-hit twice. But do you like the way that baseball is going? And did you see that towards the end of your career, a shift in what people wanted or general managers were looking at as far as players go?
Yeah, there was definitely a shift, and I saw it personally. The last full season that I played, I was, I had 350 at bats. I played pretty much every day against right-handed pitching, and I didn't play against lefties. And so 350 at bats, I hit a little over 280 with 10 homers and 50 RBIs. And, 10 to 15 years before that, as a veteran player, that would have, at the very least, landed me a bench spot on a team in the major leagues, and I couldn't find a job anywhere. So, the game is definitely changing. It's going younger. The high end free agent contracts are so, absorbent that it kind of cuts out the middleman because, you can bring all these young guys up and pay them the league minimum, and then you got the stars and the studs making $300 million. So the guys that are kind of right in the middle are the guys that once they get older, they're being phased out a little bit. I'm not saying that there's no truth to the numbers because they have broken it down well, and the game is very efficient, but it's so efficient that I don't feel like with the strikeouts, I understand that pitching is so good now that everybody throws 97, 98 miles an hour that it's hard to string together 3 hits. So it's hard to score runs off of hitting singles and doubles. So that's why they're going to the home run. So I absolutely understand it, and I love watching the home run, but I also miss just seeing speed on the bases. We don't see a whole lot of stolen bases anymore. We don't see the hit and run happen. So it's a different game. That there's still entertainment value, but just not the same as it used to be.
David, I don't think anybody would have been surprised if you would have said that at this point in the season, 3 of the top 4 home run hitters in baseball are Acuna, Guerrero Jr., and Ohtani, but I don't know how many people would have had Adolis Garcia as a top 4 home run hitter in baseball right now, hitting close to 300. He's got a ton of juice. Had the walk-off on Friday and Sunday, and then the 2 homers on Saturday that helped get the win there. How much juice has he provided, and just what have you made of Adolis Garcia's rise this season?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, you have to applaud the Rangers altogether for what they've done. You know, there wasn't a lot of expectations on them coming into the season, but they have been an incredibly entertaining team to watch, and a big part of that is because of Garcia. So I think everybody knew that. You know, the funny thing is, people didn't know that that he would be, you know, up there in the leaders, the home run leaders, whatever. You know, a lot of people probably wouldn't have bet that he would have been on a major league roster for more than 10 to 15 days in the season just to fill a spot, maybe because of an injury. So, you know, I kind of made the comparison the other day that I watched the Tom Brady interview, and obviously you got to be careful who you compare to Tom Brady, but because he's just, you know, he's head and shoulders just above everybody, just his accomplishments and what he's done. But I was watching an interview with him recently that he said he knew that once he got his shot, you know, he believed in himself, and he wasn't going to let anybody take that job away from him once he finally got that job in the NFL as a starting quarterback. And I feel like it's a similar mindset to Garcia, just has never really had the opportunity. And as an older player, you know, he's taking advantage of every opportunity, both sides of the ball. He's got speed. He's got a cannon for an arm. So the Rangers stumbled on something great here, and I hope it lasts for him, because he seems like he is just a great guy, and you know, he's a winning player.
As a person who's been inside that Rangers-Astros rivalry, because of realignment and everything, the Rangers don't have, you know, a Red Sox, Yankees, or Cubs-Cardinals type, you know, long-seated 50, 80, 100-year rivalry with someone. And then the fact that they're not even that old, really. But as a player who's been inside that, is that the one that like you can say that there's a true, real rivalry between the two teams when you're playing it?
I mean, the player, I don't know how much the players are ever going to talk about that. I think from a fan standpoint, you know, if you're in DFW or if you're in Houston, obviously, you know, Waco's close enough to qualify for any of those, but you know, like it's fun. It's a little bit more fun when the Astros come here, or when the Rangers go to Houston. You know, they're in the same division now. They are duking it out. I think everything that has surrounded the Astros in the last few years has only intensified things. So, yes, I think there's always just a little bit more of a rivalry whenever there are teams within your own division. And obviously, since the Astros have moved into the American League West, you know, there's bragging rights there for the state of Texas. So it's, you know, they tried to talk it up over the years with the Silver Boot. And I think more than the Silver Boot's fun, but more than anything, who's going to finish on the top in the AL West? I think that's the big talking point there. And obviously the Astros are super talented. It's kind of been more of a lopsided, you know, a lopsided matchup over the years. Either the Astros are really good or the Rangers are really good. I don't know that they've necessarily been on a level playing field for a while, but it was a fun series over the weekend, and hopefully it's just going to be a fun matchup for years to come.
David, what does it say? The Rangers lose 9 of 10. They lose 4 straight to the Astros. And I know in baseball there's 162 games. Everyone's going to win 60. And most everyone's going to lose about 60, and then it's whatever happens the other 42. What does it say that after losing 9 of 10, getting boat raced in 4 consecutive games by the Astros, not every game, that they come back and have the fortitude to win 3 in a row?
You know, I think that's big. I think it's just a matter of every day you realize how talented you are as a team, but it's not always about talent. It's about how you play together as a team and how you're clicking. And so I think the good teams are able to discover how to make adjustments a little bit more quickly. So I think maybe you can see a little bit of the Rangers' youth in through that losing streak, and obviously the pitchers were struggling a little bit. They were walking more guys, through the Houston series. In Houston, the 4-game series, I think they went like 3 for 40 with runners in scoring position. So things like that are going to happen over the course of a 162 game baseball season. But you have to love the resiliency, especially after, what we saw last year from the Rangers, because they really struggled to put it together as a whole last year. So, kind of like I said early on, I think this team has given fans so much excitement and so many good things to look forward to. I mean, I would love to see them in the postseason this year. I don't think the expectations are necessarily that high for them, but I think they've shown enough to say, hey, we're not too far away.
Do you think that they're in a position that they might be a little aggressive if the right free agent comes along in 2022?
I think that could still be a little bit of a stretch because, we're talking, say Trevor Story, who's from Irving, wants to come play shortstop for the Rangers. Would I love to see Trevor Story in a Ranger uniform? Yes. Overall, the pitching staff could still be a little bit young altogether to make a postseason run, or at least a deep postseason run. But I mean, I think more than anything, if you look at, obviously, if Joey Gallo's hitting on all cylinders, if Garcia is playing the way he has, Solak has taken a step forward this year. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is a solid player. Nate Lowe has been a great acquisition. So, I don't know. I'm not going to say no to that question, but I think we'll see what the Rangers front office does, and I think they'll make the right move. Because I mean, what I would always compare it to back in the day was in 2009, we thought we were ready to play in the postseason. Roy Halladay was on the trading block that year, and we didn't really make any trades at the deadline that year. So I think we were frustrated a little bit as players. But then I think we understood the next time around in 2010 that we were more equipped. We were ready to make that postseason run. And then they went out and got Cliff Lee, and the timing was right there. So you're always going to be a fan of winning right now as a player, but sometimes it requires a little bit of patience.
David, what have you thought about what Joey Gallo has done so far this year? Are you seeing, consistent improvement in him? Just where do you kind of think he is in his career right now at age 27?
I think he's just trying to experiment with some things and put it all together. A lot was made of his patience and the way that he was walking early in the season, and he was lacking in the power department. And then the power came along, and he went, nearly 10 games without a walk. So the walks are going to come. The power is going to come. I don't think he has to look to do any specific one. I think for me, it's more about driving in runs and getting big hits in big situations. If he's called upon to just hit a sacrifice fly and shorten up his swing with a runner on third and one out, late in the game, then so be it. But I think that's what the difference was a few years ago in his all-star season versus the rest of his seasons. Is he wasn't just hitting his solo home runs. He was hitting big 2- and 3-run homers when it mattered, when it counted, off of lefties, off of righties, off of velocity, off of breaking pitches. So he's definitely capable of that. I think so far he has yet to really hit his stride this season, but we all know that this guy is, an out of this world talent when he's playing like he's capable of. I will say this though, I am completely sold on him being a Gold Glove right fielder. He runs things down. He has his arm is not only, the throw in Houston that we saw a few weeks ago left his hand at 97 miles an hour, and it was right on the money in a big situation. So he could be my starting right fielder defensively any day. I think it's just more, he's going to continue to look for the consistency in his at-bats. And when he can do that, especially with Garcia in the lineup and a few other guys now, I think that helps him to where he just doesn't feel like he has to go out and do too much.
David, one more question I have about the trading in and out, whether you're bringing somebody on or not. You have been, I'm sure, in a clubhouse that's been in both situations. If you have, let me know for sure. But what is it like, and can it be demoralizing when you're on a team like the Rangers, who perhaps right now are not quite ready to go spend a lot of money, but there seems to be kind of this something that's percolating, not maybe immediately, but it's there. What would it be like to be in the locker room of the clubhouse, and then sometime in mid-July they start to trade Gibson or others because that's what you do to get more pieces? Because it's also a franchise that doesn't seem to be cultivating the younger talent very much.
I think it's like I said, as a player, you're always thinking the best of your team. You're always wanting to win right now. So not to say that it wouldn't be a little bit frustrating to morale, and that there wouldn't be guys that were upset. But, at the end of the day, sometimes it's what's best for the team. A few years ago, the team was kind of back and forth, and they were a decent team, but they weren't a great team. And they traded Yu Darvish, and I thought it was the right move. A lot of fans were frustrated with it. But it was definitely the right move because he had value, and he was going to, bring back a young player or two. And so the Rangers got Willie Calhoun, who has been pretty solid in their lineup this year. And so I think, take a look at the Cubs in 2016, the Astros in 2017 and beyond. I think championship caliber teams have shown recently that they are built young, whether it's through trades, whether it's through the draft, however it is, you have to have a good young core, and then you add a few little pieces here and there when you're close, whether through trade or free agency. And that's how championship caliber teams have been built recently. So yes, if they are not in a position where they look like they're going to either make the postseason or go deep into the postseason, I think it is the right move to go ahead and make those trades while you have the chance. And so you just have to trust that your front office is always seeing things the way that they should. I mean, I think if, we talk about the analytics, if there's anything, hopefully, that the analytics can do well improve, it's that when trades should be made and when they should not be made. And hopefully they're breaking that down to a science.
David, we've got Mitch Thompson, who's taken MCC to the JUCO World Series once again in Grand Junction on at 5 o'clock today. You played for him at Baylor. Everyone who's ever played for him seems to have warm memories of Mitch. What are your memories of him, and do you have a good Mitch story you can tell us that we can relay to him later?
No, I don't know if I have a great story off the top of my head, but just more than anything, his tenacity for wanting to win and develop good hitters. He's a guy, I think more than anything, he always encouraged, whether it was me or any of the other guys, to always get work in. There's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes, because obviously through NCAA rules, you're only allowed to do so much work with coaches. So, you're always free to, usually they have a cage or, that's got a combination on it that you can, go after hours. So a lot of times players are hitting by themselves at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, or with a small group of guys. And I think he really drove home the point of, hey, if you want to get better, if you want to be on a winning team, if you want to be an All-American, these are the types of things and the type of work that you have to put in to get where you want to get someday. So he continually drove home that point. And so I think just a lot of the work that I put in over the years, I'll say that he inspired that. And he is the type of coach that would continually lead his team to win championships and play at that level. So just so incredibly pumped for him and wish them the best.
David, thank you for your time today. Good luck as you continue with what's going on with Rangers TV. Good luck watching a fun team. Even though they're under 500, they are fun to watch.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy it, guys.
David Murphy, former Baylor outfielder and also a longtime Major League player, now part of the Rangers radio network. And he gave scenarios as a former player, an old school player, about the young players and what they're doing now with the pumping of the chest or pounding the chest or the flips or whatever. I am 62. I don't need to admit, everyone knows I'm old. And I kind of tend to agree with Craig that now there's certain times, but I do kind of like this new wave without being get off my lawn. It maybe for me, it's the young talent as much as it is how they're acting. That it's neat to see the next wave of those great young players, whether it's Soto, Acuna, whoever.
I never really had a problem with Terrell Owens doing it in football. Sometimes you just got to pick your spots. It was like, all right, now this is a little excessive. That's the way I feel about it now. I love watching Bryce Harper flip his bat when he's hit a big home run. I love watching those guys do that, pound your chest like Adolis Garcia did the other day when he hit the walk. Do that, absolutely. They do it in other sports. Why are you supposed to be a professional athlete in baseball and adhere to some sort of code of 1875 rules of this sport when you watch every other professional athlete do what they're doing, and what you're doing is tame by comparison? Heck yeah, do it up, fire it up, get it going. Again, you got to pick your spots, and sometimes if you do it in the wrong time, I'm still okay with the unwritten rule of if everybody's cool with it, he gets one near the ear hole. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's the only sport where there's a certain segment of the fans who want them to act like they're in the military and just straight-faced and almost not having any fun sometimes. And I don't see what the appeal of that is. I don't think that's really the heart of baseball. I think it is the emotions. That's what's fun about it. And to David's point, I'm cool with it in Garcia's case when you're walking it off against your arch rival and it's a big Friday night game and everybody's going nuts towards the end of the game. That makes all sense in the world. Like he said, doing a solo shot down 8-0 in the 7th inning and you're pounding your chest, get the hell out of here with that. That's dumb. That's just stupid to do it in that situation. But in the right situation, it makes for a great video clip. It makes for a great time at the ballpark, and it makes for some fun. And Garcia is definitely providing the Rangers with a lot of fun right now. I loved him, staring at his dugout, trying to get those guys. It's almost like it's so tame, and maybe because the Rangers just have a lot of guys who don't really know what they're doing just yet, or kind of just finding their way. But if you watch his walk off on Friday night, he's walking down the base path, he's watching the ball go, he starts pounding his chest, and then he starts trotting, and he looks over at the dugout, and those guys don't even know how to react. They're almost are we supposed to get excited? Or yeah, get excited, get pumped up, and he certainly was, and I loved it. And rode him to a sweep, 2 homers on Saturday, didn't walk it off, but then walked it off yesterday with a base hit. So he's been incredible. I just hope he can continue it, like David said, because we know how guys, they get through a rotation and then things change. So hopefully he's in this for the long haul.
I'll give you an example from 24, 25 years ago when the Rangers were in the postseason. Or making their postseason run, they traded for Todd Sotlemeyer. And Todd Sotlemeyer was a very average, he was an above average major league pitcher. He was good at times. He wasn't Greg Maddux. But one thing about Todd Sotlemeyer that particular team needed was he had energy. He just he could fire up the pitching staff. He had a game and it was late in the 7th inning and he struck out 2 batters in a row and he leaped off the mound and pumped his fist. And I had at that point I'd hardly seen anybody. I'd seen Nolan Ryan throw 2 no-hitters, and everybody ran to him. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, sure, whatever. But he jumped off the mound in that moment of the playoff chase of a team that had not had any playoff or postseason runs. He was in that, and I thought, that's awesome to see. And then you never see it again. I'm watching the World Series for 20 years, and you don't see moments like that too often, guys. It's when they weren't. That's just how it is. I like it. I'm fine with it if it's in the right spot.
I love passion. Some people don't show it, but they have it, and sometimes
Mike
people
Trout
show
doesn't
it.
show Mike Trout doesn't show anything.
There's certain people.
He's the greatest player on planet Earth, and doesn't need to tell you.
As
about
a guy who has watched a lot of years of a lot of different things and personalities, I kind of I'm using the same names, and you guys can fill in 2 or 3 others. Acuna, Soto. I'm okay with it. I don't think you do it all the time. I think after a while it does become a little bit too much. Look at me. But if it's to help inspire your teammates or whatever at a big moment, I'm fine with it.
Well, and it's not like it's all the time. It's like there's something plaguing baseball, although maybe some old heads would think so, but it's certainly not like a controversy of any sort. I don't like the really gaudy bat flips in certain situations. So like Paul and I have both been saying, it's situational. You walk something off, flip that bat, go crazy, pound your chest, do all that. If you're doing it like the third inning, up 7-0, then just like go sit down somewhere. You know, like it's all about the timing and the situation, and there's nothing wrong with it. And it was great to see Garcia get fired up. I just wish the dugout would have reacted in a more excited way, but I think they were a little bit stunned maybe.
They're learning that too. They're like, oh, are we supposed